So, good evening once again. I'll be taking you through essentials in psychological writing. Why are we really particular about essentials of psychological writing? In the field of psychology, like every other field of discipline, research is an important element of all disciplines. And if researches are not being advanced, then we won't be different from those that are involved in pseudoscience on our street. If you listen to most of these women selling herbal medicine, they will even talk about the fact that, oh, if you mix these two concoctions together, if you mix them, they will give you a particular result. They will tell you that, oh, this bottle of substance you are seeing can treat diabetes, can treat malaria, can treat typhoid, can treat lung disease. They will mention a list. And why we see them like that is that because they are not into proper research. Hence why they could put such things to us. Mama will tell you that, oh, if you use this one, exactly, it will make you as a man to be strong. For people on the streets, they can take all of that. But for me as a scientist, I won't take that. And why am I not going to take that? I'm not going to take that because how do I believe this, Mama? One, there is need for empirical research. Please always mute yourself. I'm dealing with adults here. Please, if you know you are not an adult, please leave my class. I can't be muting you, please. I can be that difficult with you. If you know you cannot mute yourself, if I mute you, I'm going to remove you from my class. I don't have chill for all of that, please. So all these people, when they talk, there is no scientific backing to their claim. Because ordinarily, a drug that does malaria, that does typhoid, that does kidney problem, that does lung problem does not exist. And why am I saying that? The mechanism of action of those drugs can never be the same. For those that have studied biology extensively, they are not the same pathway. So you can't tell me one drug can heal 50 things. If they want to heal 50 things, they must be in a category and not that we're putting so many things together just to sell our market. So for us in psychology, research writing is key. And for you to call yourself a scholar in the field of psychology, it is your ability to do a proper psychological research. When I say proper psychological research, as human in our environment, there are several problems. When I say several problems, endless problems are available around us. Our own as a researcher is to look at a particular problem and see how we can document it. When we do our documentation, we will be able to establish like, oh, I haven't said this and this. This is the way I have found it, and I'm reporting it this way. And I so recommend that, oh, other researchers should take it on from here. Policymakers should take it up from here. Scholars should take it up from here. That is the essence of doing psychological research. For me, okay, a lady came to my office today. Let me just use her story as an example. She was trying to tell me that, oh, adverse childhood experiences, that is, some of the challenges we go through in early life, they damage us when we grow up. And I put it to her that she should mention like one or two. She said she started helping her mom in her business when she clocked age 16. That put a lot of burden on her. When she said that, and she was trying to paint the situation in a negative way. When I say negative way, she was trying to put it like, oh, because she assisted her mom at a point in her life, that is putting so that she put so much emotional burden upon herself. And I asked her, as an adult, how does that affect you? She was trying to look for the right answer. She was trying to look for a negative answer to my question. Later, I challenged her that in Africa, especially in Nigeria, helping your parents, especially with their businesses, is not the same thing as slave trade. You don't call it child labor. If my mom sells pap and I help her to hawk pap in the morning, that does not mean my mom is engaging in child labor. In this part of the world, it is apprenticeship. You are helping your parents. You are also contributing to the life of the family. You are contributing to the finance. And I put it to her that several adults you're seeing in this society today that are wealthy, many of them, they learned these essential skills from their parents while growing up. The university will not teach Vicky James to be a big fashion designer that she is today. She's a big designer house there today. But look at Vicky James' story. She started from her mom's shop. That means growing up, she used to assist her mom in cutting, in sewing, in threading, and all of that. And today, see where Vicky James is. Do you now want to tell me that you want to call our own apprenticeship with the mom slavery again? The answer is no. So when we are doing our psychological research, it is possible that a report from the United States is saying, oh, when you assist your mom to cook in the kitchen, is slavery. My own findings from Oshogbo could be, oh, when you assist your parents in cooking, is a way of grooming you for adulthood life. You see the role of research. That is why your research must be domesticated in your own environment. You can't be my own student and you want to write a research and you are trying to narrate the adverse childhood experiences of a child in California to me. I may tell you no, that come and document the adverse childhood experiences of children in Makoko, Lagos. Because there are other researchers in California doing that. While you focus on the one in your own environment, put all of that together. In future, you can mount the United Nations stage and say, oh, blah, blah, blah. My name is Ajao Dada. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I want to tell you that if a child helps the parent, it's not child labor. It is assistance to the family. And you could, it will surprise you that, oh, even the white people will now say, oh, so when a child assists, it's not the same thing as the child labor that has been defined from their own end. So when it comes to essentials of research, you must understand what the problems are, the peculiarity in your own environment. And you don't need to force your answer to be like that of another person. For research, there is what we call ethics guiding it. You have to document what you have found. If you document that, oh, in Lagos, Nigeria, if you help your mom in a shop to trade, it will destabilize you, it will mar your future. Document that. I may do the same research in Idumota and let you know that all those mamas in Idumota that you are seeing today, they are the ones that have produced all the judges in Lagos. Despite those ladies, those guys grew up from those shops, inside those gutter, inside Saleko. But today they are judges, they have ministers, they have all sorts of kids being raised in that environment. So when you are doing your research, you have to move away from what we call assertion. Assertion is when Mama Lagbo will tell you that, this black thing can heal 50 things. That is an assertion. Your own as a researcher, as an elite, to say, oh, let's put it to test. Let's try 10 people that are diabetic in my area. Let's see if they take the quantity of this drug within 10 days. If they will be cured of diabetes. You can see the pattern of our research now. Your own is scientific. Your own is documented. Your own can be replicated. There is a place of empirism in your own. You are testing the facts. There is a place of determinism here. It's not merely you are trying to test it and see how it happens. So for us to be a graduate of psychology or to finish this program strong, it is important that we understand why it is important to carry out psychological research. in practical psychology, we try to use human and animals for our experiments. And some of you may ask, why are we using animals for experiments? We try to use animals for experiments because some of these experiments some of these behaviors being exhibited by some of these animals can be translated into human behaviors. Let me give you an example. They did an experiment in year 2. We call it maze learning. For maze learning, there is a maze being designed, and you put a rat in the maze. You put food or meat powder at edges of the maze, and you want the rat to trace, to find his or her way to where the food is in that maze. First trial, you may see.
But let me hear in the past.
First time, you may see the rat not able to navigate that way. But by the time the rat tries it the second time, the third time, you see the same rat trying to gain mastery of it. And that can be translated to us as human. Some of us in year 1, we found it even difficult to navigate some aspects, some core aspects of our discipline. Today, this is year 3. Some of us have gained mastery just because you have practiced this over and over again. So when you see a rat being used for an experiment, we're using it because we can use it to interpret real human behavior. I think that's sufficient for the background teaching. So let's go into this. This note is actually prepared by Mr. Husker, so I'm going to be following some of the things here. The challenges of writing in psychology. Psychology writing, like every other writing in science, is meant to inform the reader about a new idea, theory, or experiment. When I say new idea, you are saying you are coming as a frontier of knowledge to say, oh, in Lagos, Nigeria, the longevity now is 99 years. That people don't die at 40 again. New idea. You can come up to say, oh, the present Gen Zs, they will make a better leader than these our old tired daddies. You may actually be trying out a theory. We have several theories, and one of the commonest theory is the Freudian theory, which I consider a classical theory in the field of psychology. For the Freudian theory, the 3 stages of development, we have the id, the ego, and the superego. For the person like Freudian theory, Sigmund Freud in particular, he believes that when you give birth to a child, this child is being driven by id. Id is the pleasure principle. And now you are carrying out a research among undergraduates, and you are coming to challenge the Freudian theory like, oh, if truly Freudian has stated that, oh, the id is for children, why are we also having adults that only wants to live by the pleasure principle? The theory might prove you further that, oh, maybe that is probably fixated at that stage of their development. You might also be interested in carrying out an experiment, like the experiment of the rat and the maze that I talked about now. That is a typical experiment. It could be a social experiment where you want to test for bystander effects. Let's say you just do a simulated environment and you hack someone to, in that social experiment, to try and do like a pranking, or what we call pranking these days. Try to pretend faking fainting. Let's say the person is just on a corridor and the person goes down. And you want to see the bystander effect among undergraduates. You want to see if the 50 of us on that corridor wants to quickly rush and help and rescue that student, or all of us are looking at the student like, that's his own problem, Jerry. Is he mine? That is the experiment for you. And sometimes you might do it with even crossing the road. We used to do that one where we try what we call the zebra crossing. In zebra crossing experiment, what we try to do is that we get people that act as confederates. Here you have, there's a church beside my house. Can you hear their voice in there? Hello, is it really disturbing or I should go on? Hello?
Please go on, ma.
Go on, doctor.
It's not really disturbing you, right?
Yes, ma.
Okay, let's manage. There's just a church next to my house. So in that experiment, what you ask them to do is that you arrange for students in different categories. Maybe you arrange 2 fat ladies, 2 slim ladies, a male and a female, male, and ask them to try and cross the road using the zebra crossing point. In our previous experiment, we realized that when you see 2 chubby ladies, let's say chubby ladies like myself, trying to cross the road, you see that drivers will stop. I don't know the magic. Maybe because they want to look at the nyash, the house themselves, they stop. I don't know how that thing, maybe when you replicate this experiment, we know whether it's still obtainable. But when we ask 2 chubby ladies to cross the road, you see them walking sluggishly, and you see drivers parking without even hooting. At another point, we now ask 2 male students to try and cross the road. You see how angry the drivers will be. Like, they feel like kicking them out of the road. At a point, you now ask a male student and a female student to hold themselves like they are involved in public display of affection, like holding one another's neck, and try to cross the road. You will see the anger on the motorists, like they want to kick them. So you now realize that we now check for the drivers. You now realize that those private drivers, you would think ordinarily private drivers should stop more than the public drivers. Honestly, for most of our experiments, usually a no. The private motorists are always in a hurry. They just want to rush things on. And we also realize that female drivers tend to be more aggressive. You will ordinarily think that female drivers will stop more than male. Interestingly, most of those mommies, I don't know whether they are always tired or they are always ready to fight someone, especially when they now see a male and a female holding themselves by the road. They feel so bad, and they feel so bad about it that you are wondering, like, what is their own in this issue? And when you now see females, grand buttock trying to cross the road, you now see the drivers taking their time. But by the time those ladies, they are done crossing, you see those drivers still turning their head to look at them. So that is experiment. And for experiment like this, it's also good we replicate it. It's also good when you join my class, courtesy demands that you mute yourself. KG, I think I should remove you so that next time you join my class, I don't have shit for that. So when we do all of this, you see all of this playing its own role. Towards this end, academics, psychologists emphasize the importance of clarity and brevity in writing, while we try as much as possible to minimize descriptive language and complex sentence structure. We try to use the simplest language to present our work so that even the dumbest person in this world can see it. When you write a psychology paper, you are, above all, trying to convey factual knowledge that is supported by research and not by hearsay or what someone has dropped on your lap. Psychologists engage in a variety of kinds of writing, including we write for grant proposal, sometimes we do it for research application, sometimes we review articles for other journals, we research on articles, and we even do books. So as a student, you are most likely to be asked to write one or two types of some of this research, either as a report of your own actual or predicted data, which we cannot call an empirical paper, or a summary of other people's research, which we call a literature review. There are two types of papers follow the same writing conventions, though their formats can be slightly different, but they will still convey facts about what we do as psychology. The primary goal of a research summary or literature review is to synthesize research on a topic in psychology, while also shedding new light on that topic. Writing a literature review paper involves first doing substantial research, both online and in the library. The goal of your research should be not just to find all the relevant articles on the topic, but to evaluate some of the work that have been done and to validate their own claims. When you are writing a literature review, you should not rely on any other research summary. Rather, you should go to the original sources. So when you are writing your own literature review, you must ensure that you rely on your own original sources rather than gathering things written by other researchers. So introduction, why is this topic important? When you want to do your introduction, you have to ensure that you captivate the mind of your readers. You have to captivate it by starting with a very strong sentence that will convey the message in a way that even your readers are fascinated to read up what you are trying to say. Why is this topic important? Maybe that's the first paragraph, first statement. What is the history of this topic? What are the related theories or findings? What is your claim or thesis statement? Can you provide evidence? What is the evidence that supports your claim? What evidence runs contrary to your claim? And how do you reconcile with your own claim? The body of your paper should describe the research that has previously been done on this topic, as well as any controversy or alternate opinion. At each stage of your discussion, you should relate the evidence you present to the major conclusion you are trying to make. So let me break this down further for proper explanation. Why is this topic important? Let me just mention the topic now. Street children in Lagos. Exploring street children in Lagos. So the topic that I want to use for this example is street children. So I'm now saying, SDG goal 5 says all children must be in school. Sadly, in Lagos, Nigeria, thousands of children still live on the streets. That means the issue is that they are not just living on the streets, but they are part of the major challenges we have in this society in terms of security, in terms of burglary, in terms of theft, and every other juvenile-related delinquencies. Now, I have put it to you why the topic is important. The next one is, what is the history of this topic? The history of this topic is that we are coming with a background. And for this topic I have mentioned now, I've mentioned something on street children how they have been a major challenge to our streets in Lagos. What is the history of this topic? And I'm saying that, oh, street children or streetism has been a behavior that has been living with us in this part of the world for over 5, 6 decades. But in the last 10 years or in the last 1 decade, because of poverty, insecurity, internally displacement, several children are now on the streets, living and fending for themselves. Growing up, we used to see some of these children on the street, but not the influx that we're having now is what we used to have at that point in time. So that means I'm giving us an history of what streetism is in Nigeria then and now. What are the related theories or findings? If you look at psychology theory and you look at, let's say, psychosocial theory, or okay, let me use observational learning by Herbert Bandura. For observational learning by Herbert Bandura, the theory postulates the role of observation modeling in what we do. Many of these children on the street are encouraged to live on the street because they have seen several people lived on the street in the past, and today they are making it big in this society. They don't use that to rationalize, like, oh, Pokoli used to live on the street, someone used to, Fino used to live on the street, he used to sell this on the street, and now they are also on the street, thinking that maybe that's the way where they will jam lock. So now, we are now using findings to back our statement problem. Findings like, oh, research has documented it that streetism is not just peculiar to Nigeria. If you have been to the United States very well, especially on the street of New Jersey, California, downtown New York, you will see that there are street kids in the United States. Some of them have actually grown into adolescents or young adults, but there are street children on every street, even in civilized society. I may not really be able to talk much about UK, but I know in a place like Peckham, there are street kids. You may not really see them on Victoria Street and some elite areas in the UK, but there are street kids even in the UK. And what are the factors that reinforces, that promotes this behavior? One of it is that all of us are promoters too. You are going, you see a child on the street, you drop money for them. What have you done? You have also reinforced the behavior. Sometimes it's beyond hunger. If you check many of these beggars on our road in Lekki, they even borrow people money. Some of them are more buoyant than you. They run accounts worth 6 digits, 7 digits, and they're still on the street because when they come to the street and they sit by that junction, they leave that junction in the evening with 60,000, 100,000. Even you that you are going to work for a whole month, you don't make it. So at the end of the day, you now see that behavior being promoted. So that is why all of us are guilty of it. So when you are now trying to establish your claim, now you are now saying, oh, street children or living on the street is not just a problem in Nigeria. I've been to South Africa. I'm quite familiar with the street of South Africa. In Johannesburg, several kids are on the street. All those provinces, Cape Town, Limpopo, Northwest, children live on the street in the cold. In Alberta, in Canada, children live on the street. Children here could be age 16, could be 17. Don't see it as only little ones. They live on the street. Some were even raised on that street. They were born on the street. And all their life, they've been on the street. And that's where they eat. On the street of New Jersey, like this, Green Spring, you will see people asking $1, $1, 1 cent, 2 cents. And as they're coming, all those your spare cents that you are not using, 2 cents, you are dropping it. But in the evening, the parties, they go use it to buy drugs. So at the end of the day, all of us are parties to this. So when you're establishing your claim and your thesis statement, you are clear about the fact that, oh, this menace is common in this part of the world, because of insecurity because of poverty, homelessness, so many pay. Some of them are from homes where the parents are separated, they've gone their ways, the children are just left all alone. Many of them are the so-called Agbero conductors in Lagos. All those Ibadan street children, they are the ones occupying those rooms. When you now do that, even the person that wants to read your document knows that you have a good understanding of what you are saying. The body of your introduction now, what is the evidence that supports your claim? You will now go back to Google search or any search engine. You now have to go through the library. What are the available evidences? You can now say, oh, United Nations 2025 document on street children in Nigeria has said Nigeria holds the highest number of street children in Nigeria, which puts it at about 1 million children currently living in Nigeria. That means you are talking as a scientist with evidence, not like, hey, my neighbor said there are children on this. No, you are coming with facts. You are talking about the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, saying that by the end of 2027, poverty will have been reduced in Nigeria. But sadly, number of people that are on the street begging alms to survive, they are increasing as the day goes by. When you say all of this, even your reader will know that, oh, you have a firm understanding of what you are saying. And when the evidence runs contrary to your claim, that is the one beauty of research. If I have come and say, oh, street children are more on the street of Lagos, it's an embarrassment to Lagos State. In fact, Lagos is trying so much with all the plans they have in terms of employment creation, this and that, with all the facilities they have, some of these children are still living on the street. And if you are coming with a counter claim, you can say, oh, Ajao 2025 reported that in Osun State, there is no child that lives on the street. And we document it for a research, like, oh, Mr. Ajao said Ajao 2025 claimed that or found in a study or reported that no single child lives on the street in Osun and Oyo State. So I'm now saying, okay, so if my own position is Lagos, you are saying in Osun, I may now take the explanation further that, oh, that means Governor Ademola Adeleke has tried so much and Seyi Makinde to sanitize the street of Ibadan such that we don't really have street children. Or maybe because Ibadan people and Osogbo people does not reinforce the behavior. Or we may even say it further that, oh, many of them are not even living in those downstates because downstate people are naturally poor there and they don't even have surplus to even spare for someone living on the streets. And maybe those street children that we are seeing in Lagos are actually from Osun State and from Oyo State. So all of these are what to use to back our claim and reconcile our claim. I'm reconciling it by saying, oh, it's the issue of street children is more of Sanwo-Olu's problem, is a Lagos problem, because Lagos is a metropolitan environment where some of these children eventually runs into something that will favor them in future, and more reason why they are not living the streets. And maybe because of all their Agberos, daddy that they have, the MC Oluomo, all of them, that at the end of the day, even being from Motor Park, they found their way to government house, and today they are romancing our leaders. So it's not as if it is wrong to be on the street as long as they have mentors that have been on the street before and today they have their bearing in our society. So we now go to discussion and conclusion. What is your final conclusion? So if my final conclusion says, oh, street children or streetism is a problem that is peculiar to southwestern Nigeria, it is important that the policy holders, the stakeholders come to the aid of these children so that in the near future, these children are not being recruited to be part of the thieves, the burglars, the bandits, and what have you in our society. So that's my conclusion. What questions remain unanswered? I may have some rhetoric questions like, what can the government do? What can the family do in this regard? The family, all of us are stakeholders. I tell people that these children on the streets, they belong to all of us. They are our relatives. If they are not related to Mr. Ajao, they may be related to our Dada, they may be related to Eniola, but let us not pretend as if these children dropped from the sky. They belong to us. They belong to a family. They belong to a lineage. So we all have to understand that the question of where do they come from should be sacrosanct to us, like, oh, they are our brothers, they are our sisters. Challenges of life threw them out of the homes and getting resources to ensure that things get better for them. What does your conclusion mean for people's theories or explanation? Let's go back to the observational learning. Please, if I'm still with you in the class, just drop an emoji. Let me see the emoji. You don't have to talk, just emoji to be sure that we're together. So that I'm not just talking to myself at this back end. Okay, I think I've seen one. Thank you, Mika. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Teniola, Munisola. Thank you. Just to be sure I'm not talking to myself here. Sometimes it's important I do the check. So what does your conclusion mean for the theory? I said the theory of observational learning, where they have seen certain people leave home quite young and come to the city and make something big out of it. That means the behavior is being reinforced. They have a model. So now our own is now to tell the model that in pushing for advocacy, they should try as much as possible to let these children know that, oh, they have come without anything to the city of Lagos, and today they are something. But when they came to the city of Lagos, they came with a vision, they came with purpose, they were committed, they were hardworking, not those ones that are ready to steal. So now, when you want to say, oh, observational learning is what is really reinforcing this behavior. But the truth is that even when you're observing, you should also observe that, okay, those Baba, what were the things they did at that point that made them stood out in their generation? Because many of these daddies, they stood out among their contemporaries. I read the story of this man, they call him Adedoyin Abi. The man that used to hold Doyin cubes used to be a very big man. He's in his 90s now. The man said he came from Umuaran to Lagos, even without a footwear. And today, he owns several houses and mansions in Lagos. But that means when he came to Lagos, fine, luck ran at him. But besides that, he might probably be trustworthy, be hardworking. It's possible he came with purpose, with vision, not like those ones that wants to steal, your side mirror, that wants to even damage, even kidnap. They do all sorts of things to make life difficult for a lot of people. In the final section, you will also want to synthesize the findings you describe in the body into a succinct summary. That is, you are summarizing it and you are putting it just a paragraph that streetism is a menace in Nigeria. However, the government can come to the head of these children if there are social infrastructure, if there are social security and support system. Some of these children might end up turning out well as against the expectation of them turning to miscreants. Now they are already on the street. What can we do to salvage that situation such that they will not become a problem to us in the future? Here, you now return to the issue that you raised at the introduction and close the loop. So what is the issue? Street children, they are part of the insecurity in Nigeria. They are the ones being recruited for Boko Haram, for this, for that. And with that, you'll be able to close the loop that, oh, I haven't done this. You are doing your recommendation this way. And when you do all of this and we read your piece, we know that, oh, this is someone that is really going places in terms of academic life. Also, you should also discuss the possible implications of your argument for existing theories and for everyday life. I may now say, oh, the implication of not removing these children on the streets is that most children will have to join them because they will see them as, oh, after all, Uncle Kasali has been on the street for 4 years and he's doing well. He has not died. So we have to also talk about the implication. Go back to the family circle. If you don't see a child again, what do you do about it? You just conclude that, oh, the son, and you continue living your life. Those are the kind of conversation we can now have in this regard. As a psychologist, avoid surprises. Psychologists like to be led through a paper without major surprises along the way. This means being very clear about what's the point you are trying to make and always showing how new evidence or theories relate to the bigger point of the paper. One easy way to remember this is to think that your reader wants to know where you are going in the intro, where you are during your presentation of evidence, and where you've been in your discussion. If your introduction is saying street children is a menace on the street of Lagos, you are now letting we readers know that now that is a problem. What can be done about it? Present your evidence like, oh, it's not something should alarm any one of us in Lagos because street children or streetism is not peculiar to Lagos alone. With that, your readers will say, oh, so we have, even as good as America is, we have children living on the street. If you come out from World Trade Center in New York, you see children, all these train stations, you see them sleeping in front of shops, in front of malls in the evening. So for me, I don't really see it as something here, especially because we have a good weather. If you have been to a place like South Africa in their peak of winter and you see children living on the street, even you with 3 jackets, you are jacking, you are shivering, and you see street kids sleeping inside the cold, you will know that, oh, all these are our own street kids in Nigeria, they are even enjoying because they don't have weather issue. Those ones in Canada, they use plastic bag, lab coats or what raincoats to cover themselves to sleep. You know, you can see how terrible it is for them. We have good weather, so weather is not even part of our own problem. But in their own case, weather is added to it. So you now let us know that with the evidences that we have presented, my discussion now is that modeling has been sustaining this behavior. Our government also, the funds that have been released to us by all these big donors all over the world, it has not really been expended on this project to salvage these children out of the street. Also avoid direct quotation. Psychologists seldom use direct quotes. Rather, they distill the essence, not necessarily by paraphrasing in the sense of just rearranging the word. The statement of other researchers and cite those research work. You can say, oh, Akinwale 2025 in his study reported this and this. That one will not count as plagiarism because you are saying, oh, Akinwale in a study reported this. And you are actually putting what I have found in my own study in a way. An example is given here. For example, see this, Frank 1982 demonstrate that peer evaluation and performance in school are the main contributors to adolescent self-esteem. It's preferable to say our result indicates that it's not your results, it is Frank's results. So it is better you say Frank 1982. Also, you try to reduce your biased languages. Psychologists use bias-free language, which typically means that they refer to people as though people refer to themselves. For example, do not use male pronoun as a generic. Use he or she. Use his or hers. Use phrases such as people with autism rather than autistic people. Use the phrases gay men and lesbian rather than homosexuals. Don't define people by what they aren't. For example, don't say non-white. Instead, say people are e.g. Asian or American, African American, but don't call them non-white. Then avoid jargon or overly unusual words, except when it is absolutely necessary. Don't use some of us because we speak big grammar and you want to put all of them in your work. It doesn't work. You have to ensure that you follow the rule of parsimony. Use the simplest form to describe what you are trying to convey. Use headings and subheadings. Would let your story not run 2-3 pages. Break it into sub-headings. That will help your reader. Sometimes you are reading, you are lost. You go back to the heading. Okay, this is still part of introduction. Oh, no, this is part of the background of the story. Always include a title for your paper. Don't do a work without title. The word I and we should always refer to the author of the paper and not to people in general. In fact, these days, we don't really accept I and we again. We try to ensure that we use words like the author, the researchers, despite you are one of them. Instead of saying we the researchers, you just say researchers did this. Don't personalize words in research. You should check your instructor. If you have question about the first person as used or the first person is not, if it is a yes, just like the explanation I made. First person, mostly we don't accept it again in research. So nothing like I, we. Just put it as Frank, Oscar 2025, not I, Dada. We don't accept that. Then that will be all for now. If you have any question, yeah, let's go through it and if possible, give me an answer. Hello, are we together? Unmute yourself
Yeah.
and
Yes,
talk.
ma.
Yes, ma'am.